Hello, I'm Tim, a firefighter and cancer survivor living in Minnesota. This is the 20th edition of the updates that I call Armed and Dangerous. In 2018, I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of melanoma that I refer to as ARMS for anal rectal mucosal melanoma. It's a type of cancer that, in its amelanotic state, where it doesn't have pigmentation associated with it, there's fewer than 360 new cases nationwide. So it kind of threw my initial oncology team for a loss, but to their great credit, they got me referred to the Mayo Clinic. The melanoma group, part of Mayo Oncology, specialize in treatment of melanoma. And with their guidance and direction, in concert with my local oncologist, we were able to treat my cancer. So we did initially 4 rounds of dual immunotherapy with ipilimumab and nivolumab, transitioning to a single immunotherapy of nivolumab, and continued on until December of 2018. Over the course of that, initially I thought everything went really well. My body handled the immunotherapy. The cancer diminished to the point of not being noticeable or being able to see. In October of 2019, I was declared to be in remission. So, but we continued with the immunotherapy. What I didn't realize is that in early 2020, um, things that I thought were sleeping wrong, um, exercising wrong, COVID had hit, and trying to continue working out without being able to go to a gym really changed the dynamic. In reality, what was happening was I was experiencing side effects of the immunotherapy treatment. So, one of the things that happens with immunotherapy is your body's immune system can get so revved up that when it runs out of cancer to attack, it'll actually start going after your joints and other body parts. So when that happens, it's a thing that they call inflammatory syndrome. So with inflammatory syndrome, my over-revved immune system went after my shoulders and my neck, and my back hurt. And before I finally got into a rheumatologist, my knees were really starting to retain fluid, and I was hurting all the time. Fortunately, I had a rheumatologist who was on top of everything, and working with the rheumatologist and using methotrexate, we were able to counter my overactive immune system. So from April of 2020 until January of 2024, I was taking various levels of methotrexate to calm down my immune system. So then it became a choice of, do I hurt all the time because of the inflammatory syndrome, or do I feel wiped out and just not with it because of the methotrexate? So fortunately, I was able to taper off of the methotrexate to the point of actually discontinuing in 2024, which was, to me, it was a good thing, because it made it hard to breathe, it made it hard to exercise, made it hard to concentrate, put me in a position of really depending on a lot of people to do their jobs without me micromanaging them in the process. So this year, I just marked 2 years since falling down the stairs and rupturing my quadricep tendon, tearing it completely off of the patella on my left leg. Still a little gimpy on that on occasion, but for the most part, I've healed from that. I'm able to walk, ride my bicycle, exercise as any other normal 64-year-old. So that's been good. The last year has been a challenge. I've had more interaction with doctors in the last year than I have in the last 5, and that sounds a little bit strange coming from somebody who's a cancer patient, or as I like to say, former cancer patient. In April, or actually March of this year, I had an attack of diverticulitis that caused a perforated bowel. I ended up having emergency surgery on March 30th, where they removed about 1.5 inches of my sigmoid colon and created a colostomy. So, in other words, I had to poop in a bag. Um, it was kind of a long recovery because of the amount of infection associated with the perforated bowel. Finally got back to work around Memorial Day. Had a second hospitalization, actually a third hospitalization in the end of June, that I spent overnight in a hospital after having a procedure to address some issues with my prostate. So I get to say that as an old guy, I'm not going to be dealing with the prostate because we've already taken care of that. So that's good news. I spent all summer with the colostomy, started wearing suspenders so that I could better manage wearing the appliance underneath my clothing. The good news is for me is that October 2nd, I was able to go to what they call takedown surgery. So the colorectal surgeon who had originally did the biopsy for my cancer actually was the surgeon who reattached my plumbing. So they call that a takedown procedure. So they take down the colostomy. In my case, they removed all of my sigmoid colon before reconnecting everything. And the idea was to prevent any future occurrence of diverticulitis because I still had some small diverticula that, although not concerning today, who knows what tomorrow might bring. So, very successful surgery in October. Went into hospital on a Wednesday, had the surgery Wednesday morning, ate a regular meal Wednesday night, had breakfast the following day, saw the colorectal surgeon, told him I felt pretty good, so he sent me on home. In fact, I was already walking 10 to 20,000 steps a day before the surgery, and I was able to resume walking the day after the surgery. So the recovery from the second round of surgery was so different than the first time. Uh, Partly, I've been doing the walking an hour to 2 hours every day, and the doctor said that helps with the recovery process because my body is a lot stronger. Not having a ton of infection inside also made it better for the healing process. Unfortunately, my original surgery in March, uh, they attempted to repair an umbilical hernia at the same time that they did the emergency colostomy, but it didn't take. I had hoped that I'd be able to get that repaired during the takedown surgery, but because of the nature of the takedown surgery and what needs to be done for the hernia, it ends up being another procedure. My colorectal surgeon was pretty kind and said he does takedown surgeries, he doesn't do hernia repair, which is fine because I've been referred to a surgeon who specializes in hernia repair, and I'm very confident in his abilities. So the takedown surgery, unlike the first surgery where I ended up with a 6-inch wound in my belly, in addition to the colostomy, the takedown procedure, I ended up with 4 very small incisions, and they were able to reattach everything laparoscopically and then close up the opening that had been my colostomy. So that's pretty much healed up at this point. I'm scheduled to have hernia surgery to address the umbilical stomach hernia. It's about the size of my hand, covering my midsection. Um, we're confident that the surgeon will be able to do another laparoscopic procedure. So 3 small incisions on my right side. They'll pull the 2 halves of my 6-pack together, reconnect them, and then place a reinforcing mesh in there. My wife and I had asked questions about reinforcing mesh. We hear all this talk about lawsuits involving mesh, and the reality is that mesh can be a problem if it touches internal organs, but where the mesh is going in me, it'll be in between 2 layers of muscle. Plus, there'll probably be a nice insulating layer of fat still in there. Now, even though I'm down 85 pounds from where I was in the summer of 2023, I could still stand to lose a little bit of weight, wouldn't mind losing a little bit of weight, but at this point, my waistline is 10 inches smaller than it was before I started losing weight last summer. So we're doing pretty good. Um, the information I got from my latest visit to Mayo. So this past Friday, had my follow up with Mayo Oncology. Got another PET CT. I call it riding the tube because you lay on your back with your arms above your head. And this time it's a super new machine. It only took 10 minutes compared to the original 40 minutes. It was pretty easy to do. When I checked my chart for the results, the doctor's notes say there's no evidence of a recurrence of his mucosal melanoma, no evidence by history, physical exam, imaging, or laboratory work. So in other words, there's no sign whatsoever of the cancer being a problem. So now I'm 5 years removed from the initial remission, and they term that complete response to treatment. So that really is remission. And at this point, the providers at Mayo Clinic have said we can discontinue prescriptive follow up with imaging. So, in other words, that's doctor talk for get out and don't come back. But if I need to, they'll certainly be there. I really liked that Dr. McWilliams from the Mayo Clinic congratulated me on my 5 year mark in as he termed it, this highly aggressive cancer. So again, I'm in a good place. In a couple of weeks, I'll be retiring, starting the next chapter of my life and Madeline's life. We've got some plans on what we're going to do and where we're going to land on things. I've been extremely blessed over the last 32 years to serve in the American Fire Service. I've been part of two amazing families of firefighters. They've been second to none in their dedication to the public that they serve, and I consider them my brothers and sisters. And I'm extremely honored to have been able to serve the last 7 years as the fire chief in my most recent fire department. So again, retiring the end of December, moving into that period of time between retiring and starting Medicare. And hard to believe I'm 64 already, but we're not done. We just haven't figured out what the next path will be. But to sum it up, Madeline asked the doctor, "Is it okay do you consider him cancer free?" And the doctor said, "Yeah, we consider him cancer free, and you can consider him cured." Which, when we first started out, that certainly wasn't what we expected. We weren't sure what to expect, but it's been an amazing journey. I know that not everyone has the great success that I've had and that I've experienced. I want, in no uncertain terms, to emphasize the power of prayer and the appreciation of those who've been there for me during this journey and continue to reach out. And I'm honored to have them as friends. And so I'm not sure what I'll do for my next update, but probably sometime after the hernia surgery, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll keep you in the loop.